What's happening, great people in the world? It's your guy, Nicholas Wilcox, alongside my guy, Johnny Main. Welcome to week 3, the Fantasy Football Show. We got you covered. So we got you for the week 2 reactions. We got waiver wire to talk about. We got trade advice. And eventually we have some Thursday night preview thoughts. So we got a lot to cover, Johnny. Johnny, say what's up to the people.
What up, though? Week 3 on the horizon. Let's go.
I'm sure he's happy as a clam because the Steelers are 2-0. But anyhow, we got.
Wait.
Yeah, I'm about to say, where's the towel at? Yeah. Go ahead. We got a lot to get into, people, so we won't waste too much time here. For everyone that tunes in, we appreciate y'all for sure. If you guys want to follow us, if you haven't got to yet, the tags. So at Nick _Wilcox25 for me, Johnny Main 37185. Is that 37185 random, or is it just like,
No, man. No, I'm repping the home zip code, baby.
And what's the home zip code again?
Yeah, gotta hold it down, man. Waverly, gotta hold it down, baby. Waverly, Tennessee.
I don't think anybody knows what that is, but
no, they don't, baby. But they about to pretty soon.
Well, like I said, people, we got a lot to go over. So we're gonna start with what we learned from week 2. And there were some things we definitely learned from week 2, from all things considered. So, Johnny, kick us off to things that you saw that you learned from week 2.
Couple things, man. I think we're getting to a point, and I think this is actually, I'm glad that this is our first topic, man, because I think, like, just to help people out, like, whether it's from a picks perspective or whether it's just trying to figure out, your fantasy football team, like, we're at a place where now, like, it's time to stop living in the past. Like, what you're seeing on film and what you're seeing out there now, like, these teams now, like, this is, I don't want to say it is what it is, but, like, things like Derek Carr, things like Sam Darnold, the New Orleans Saints, like, these things, like, we got to start paying attention to these things now. So a couple things I learned. Obviously, I'm going to start off with Pittsburgh Steelers got the best defense in football, hands down, for sure. I think the Baltimore Ravens obviously have some concerns up front on the offensive line that absolutely need addressing for sure. The Philadelphia Eagles need to tackle better. Anthony Richardson's passing is going to be a roller coaster, kind of just like we expected. Trying to think about what else here, man. I think Cincinnati Bengals, like, all of a sudden they're 0-2, right? Like, so now all of this outside noise and outside drama, that's a thing for them. The New England Patriots are not really that bad of a football team, which is ironic to say. And then obviously the Carolina Panthers in their situation with Bryce Young. So I think for me, like I said, I think we're getting to a place now where as a fan, as a fantasy manager, like, you have to start paying attention to these things. And the New Orleans Saints, I'll say it again, like, it looks like they're going to be a problem in the NFC South after 2 weeks. Still a lot of football left. And, man, here's another thing I'll throw out, too, that I learned, man. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for it, but I think we
don't be stingy, Johnny. Don't be stingy.
We need to bring back preseason football, man. We need to bring it back. That's it. I'm done. I'm done on my rant. I'm done. I'm not going to be stingy.
Yeah. That makes sense. For sure. From things that we learned from, week 2 and also week 1 as well, the first 2 weeks. And I think Johnny's right. We have to throw everything out the window when it comes to last year. The 2 games gives you not a real clear picture on what exactly is going to happen, but there's definitely some things we need to, again, take what we're seeing and not take it fully for granted, but we need to, in turn, with our processes and things considered, we need to understand that, there's things that we are seeing from the, just from a team perspective to our fantasy side, all things considered. So I 100% agree. I am really reevaluating, like, my stance on Denver. I said for people to take the team total 4.5 wins, but this team don't even look like a high school football, great team right now. Sean Payton, I think, should be on the hot seat. I don't think he is going to be.
No.
Because, again, like you really put a lot into him in terms of resources and future and stuff like that. I said on our earlier show, TBQ, is that he's someone that should be on a hot seat, but he won't be. But we'll see what happens. I mean, look, Bo Nix hasn't even thrown for a touchdown yet. So it's bad. That Denver offense, it looks very, very bad. You got random receivers all over the field. You just got no continuity there. The offensive line doesn't even look like really that polished either. And against Pittsburgh, you clearly not only saw that, but you clearly just saw a team that was just trying to make something happen, but literally could not. So that was that. What I took from week 2 as well was that Alvin Kamara, man, is someone that I think we slept upon. In terms of literally we were just napping at the wheel of Alvin Kamara for the first 2 weeks. Like, look, the way Alvin Kamara is being used is the way that, we felt Kamara should have been used all along. Like, he literally is a guy that he's going to get catches out the backfield, but the way they're using him, he's truly a running back. Like, back-to-back games, at least 15 carries or more, and went over the century mark this week against the Cowboys, who again is a decent defense overall. But then 65 yards receiving and a touchdown. So there was a lot to love about Kamara. I think we were definitely sleeping at the wheel when it came to him. This offense in general for the Saints, we all thought coming in this offensive line wasn't going to really hold up. That's why we were concerned, because Zach Strife is overall not here no more. Like, there's a lot to not like about this team when it came to the Saints offensive line. But Clint Kubiak, kudos to him. He's got so much going on, a lot of motion going on. He leads, they lead the league right now in motion based plays, play action. They're in the top 5. So there's a lot metrically we like about the Saints as well. So I think it was one of those things we were definitely, in terms of not being high enough, was definitely Kamara for sure. And we'll just have to see how things gel when it comes to the rest of that goes. So, Johnny, what do you think you missed in terms of week 2?
What do I think?
What did you
think I missed? What do you think? Well, definitely. Like I said, on the DFS side, man, like Alvin Kamara, that was one of your one of your locks, man. And if I would have played Kamara this week, man, I probably would have panned out pretty well, man. I played a lot of Marvin Harrison, played a lot of Kyler Murray. Man.
That's why people got to be here on Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Yeah, man. That's definitely good call on your part.
Out here,
for sure. I think I missed on the Detroit Lions in that game. Obviously, like, I took them to win straight up, but I took the Bucks on the points. So I missed on that for sure. Your Titans, your Jets versus the Titans. That was another one, man. But
like, the spread, baby.
Yeah, but I mean, just overall, like, I think, like, again, man, like, just kind of like what we've been talking about. It's like it's so early in the season to like people taking victory laps over anything. We kind of joked last week about Isaiah Likely. We kind of joked about that, right? Like, we take our victory lap, like, all right, 1 lap, and then it's week 2, and then we got to come back and we're right back at it, right? But I just think, but this week was like crazier than the first week. Like, nobody had Atlanta beating Philadelphia. Nobody gave them a snowball chance in hell. For sure. And then same thing with the Raiders, man, and the Ravens, right? Like, I think even though like they had these problems up front, like, we still expected the Baltimore Ravens to handle business at home against the Las Vegas Raiders, and obviously that didn't shake out that way. So like I said, I think it's just one of those situations, man. I know for me personally, like, there's a point in time where you get into the year and you start to really just be like, okay, like, because we're still going to have people, whether it's from a fantasy perspective, whether it's from a picks perspective or a props perspective, are still going to be kind of hanging their hat on things that happened last year. And I think, like I said earlier, that's going to be my general theme for the week. Is like, hey, we've had 2 weeks of film, we got 2 weeks of stats, we have 2 weeks of games. Like, what we're seeing now, like, that's what we got to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah, I mean, That makes
Oh,
sense.
and Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts as
Yeah,
well.
we're both
Gotta call that one out.
There were some things we and you know I kind of talked about it on the segment that we did. It was like just watch out for these trap games and trap lines, and we got it. From week 2. The Colts we thought we would just cover on the road because it'd be easy because they lost Jordan Love and everything. We didn't put enough thought into how these Packers would respond at home and how they literally just didn't do much with Malik. For him to not mess up the game for them. It was literally Josh Jacobs. Came right after these dudes.
But he came with 32 carries. 32 carries.
Came right after these dudes. Literally. What did Jacobs finish with? It was just to put it in context. Like Jacobs finished, I think, at least over 150 yards. On the ground. Yep, 32 carries for 151 yards.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What? So, yeah, it was literally just that. But that's something that we definitely missed, and I definitely missed. So, I mean, look, I also missed the Cowboys. I thought they were going to be way more fired up to be at home after a big win against Cleveland. And then what do? They don't even show up. They don't even show up, though. They don't even show up.
Yeah.
They don't show up at all from a whole team perspective. It wasn't just one side of the football. It was all things considered. And
which that's what I thought I was getting
last
week 1. Yeah, like that's who I thought was showing up week 1. But here we go.
Right. And so I mean, look, kudos to the Saints, obviously. So they took them behind the woodshed. Pretty much. So yeah, I mean that's a missed upon. But yeah, I mean, look, like there are some things we definitely got right. I'll start it off with Alvin Kamara. For your DFS lineups, from a betting perspective, the prop shot went 5-3, so that gets us back to 500 on the year. And again, I feel like we're just gonna, it's only up from here, literally. When it comes to the prop shop, we're gonna have some nicer overall plays. The only thing I really missed upon was the Saints game because it was a blowout. It was a blowout. And Anthony Richardson gets literally like 2 yards short from his rushing line because he didn't run almost all game until like the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
It's like that's not gonna happen again.
Yeah. Which I think you already know what's gonna happen next week with him in that area. So
and now I'm not gonna say any mini victory lap per se. But Kyler Murray looked good, yo. Kyler Murray looked great right now, yo. Again, no victory lap yet. No victory lap. Not until at least like week 6.
Yeah.
That's like week 6. And that's if we get there, because honestly, like with these injuries that we got, top injuries got going on, like it's absolutely crazy right now when it comes to these injuries that we have to talk about. We got Tua, Pacheco broke his leg, Cooper Kupp is pretty much going to be put on the IR. Debo is going to miss at least like 2 or 3 weeks, according to Kyle Shanahan. AJ Brown, he missed a couple of weeks. Like, there's just a ton of injuries to get to with these guys. And, Johnny, like, this is going to affect the landscape from both real life and fantasy football. So what are your initial takes on these injuries in terms of like all these guys here? Like, I know there's, again, we got some big hitters here. So like, what are your thoughts overall?
Well, I mean, one of the few things I did get right on Sunday was the Rams and not being all the way in on them from like a DFS perspective.
Yeah, I wasn't either. But
but I had no idea that it was going to result in an injury for Cooper Kupp, right? I think obviously you can't predict injuries and you can't draft to be scared. All right, but I think there's something to be said. And I think it was a great take. I can't remember who it was, but someone I was listening to during the offseason was like, hey, if you take away that triple crown year away from Cooper Kupp, like, what else is there really going on for him? But I think we kind of fell into the trap. Like, we fell into the media hype of like, hey, like, he looks great, and he did. He looked great. But like, you can't bank on injuries. You can't bank on injuries.
Right. No, you can't.
You can't. So I'm not saying that. But like, I just think like overall, I'm a bottom line guy. Like, the end result is the end result. And like, you still are now in a situation where later on in the summer, you move Cooper Kupp up your draft boards. And like, here we are right now dealing with this right here. But obviously, like the players we talked about on Sunday, Robinson, Parkinson, Those are guys that like you really have to take a look at now. Obviously, they're banged up everywhere on the offensive line and the secondary. So like, when does it become a point in time where we start to see the youth movement happen for the Rams? So I think that's something just to call out. Obviously, I think you seen last night the value of AJ Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's somebody that, from a fantasy perspective, I don't want to say he gets slept on, but he always gets left out. Well, I don't want to say always, but in most general conversations, he gets left out of those big primetime wide receivers. And I think AJ Brown is absolutely he absolutely is. I don't want to say he's the heartbeat of what the Eagles are doing, but he's so important to them. He's so important to them. And not having him there for the short yardage catches that he turns into yak and turns into big plays, or even big plays down the field. I don't know how they're going to fill that role other than obviously getting the ball to Saquon Barkley more. Dallas Goedert was a no-show last night. You and I were messaging about that. Like, you talk about somebody who looks like they're on the downside of things. Dallas Goedert looks like he's on the downside of things for sure.
Yeah.
And then like with Debo, right? Like, I think I know like there's no statistical value behind like the next thing that I'm going to say, but like I just want the people that are watching and like all of us just to go back and check. There's always something to be said about a team that goes to the Super Bowl and loses in the Super Bowl. There's always something to be said for them to get back to where it is that they want to be. It's always a struggle, whether it's just like you lose coaches, you lose players, injuries, whatever the case may be. And I think like that's a situation that the San Francisco 49ers are now finding themselves on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, we talk about, what happened in week 2. Nobody had the Minnesota Vikings showing up and beating the San Francisco 49ers. That was not in the cards, right? So now, obviously, you look at guys like Jawan Jennings now as somebody you have to think about. And obviously, Ricky Pearsall's not there because of him being shot. Pacheco in that situation for the Chiefs, I think out of all the situations, I don't want to say this one is the least impactful, but I think Andy Reid has a history of being able to navigate with a platoon of backs to still make things happen. I think he can do a really good job of still mixing and matching. It's a big injury for fantasy owners for sure, but I think when you think about the Kansas City Chiefs as a whole, yeah, like I think they're still going to be okay. Like I think they're going to be okay. They're going to pass to run. So I'm not too concerned about it as of yet. And then Tua, man, dude, slide, bro. Like slide. And now here we are in a situation, right, where now, oh man, your boy Devon Achane is now in a situation where, where now all of a sudden he's looking at, 20 plus carries, and like you have to ask yourself, like, can he hold up to that type of workload? Is that something that
he my guy?
Now, I'm just asking, is it a thing, man? I mean, you know what I mean? Is it? So I think there's still a lot to unpack, man. But I think like, the teams that are going to be hurting the most right now are the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously the Los Angeles Rams, and the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, look, you hit on a lot of things in terms of these guys. And what I'll add is the biggest takeaway, like, from all of these injuries, they're all impactful in different ways. Some of them are really significant than others. Like, if I were probably going to break down this tier, it's like, they're all kind of like significant. But yeah, I mean, out of all of these, Pacheco to me is more like you just talked about, from a team level, Kansas City Chiefs like level, like real life football, it doesn't really change as much. Like, I don't like to say it like this, but Pacheco is like really a violent runner. That's still can do everything asked of him, but it's not like they can't get somebody else in there to do the same thing. Almost, maybe not to the level that maybe he was doing it at, but they can still find someone. And that's the beauty about the Kansas City Chiefs. It's like they're able to kind of slot in and kind of do things offensively, schematically, whatever, and they're able to kind of fit things in for what it is they need. So as far as like from a Pacheco standpoint, this is probably out of all the injuries is the least impactful. Everything else here, very impactful. AJ Brown being out for a couple of weeks with the hammy is impactful because there was people that were picking up Dotson just in hopes to probably block their teammate, like their person they were playing against that week. I was picking up Dotson just to block people who had AJ Brown and not pick him up. So yeah, I mean, now I got him on my rosters for a couple weeks to see what happens, and he looked okay. But the Eagles' offense was somewhat looking a mess, like you said. Now AJ Brown, it was like their field stretcher, like yeah. So again, that's a pretty impactful injury for the Eagles. It doesn't get any better for them. They take on the Saints this week, so there's that. Taking on a hot team, but they'll be at home. So the Debo injury very impactful because the way Debo was being used was like being used like Christian McCaffrey was. Sometimes getting some rushing, some carries, and a lot of time getting some short and intermediate stuff. It's a big injury. And unfortunately, it's a bad one for me because I have him like a good amount of leagues. Good thing we have depth. So I always tell people, you got to have depth at your positions for injuries, trade bait, whatever. Got to have depth. But yeah, I mean, look, the Debo industry is big because now it's Brandon Ayuk, it's George Kittle, and everybody else. Yep. So it's like I've talked about all season long. I've expected a regression for the Niners. One, because I thought, injury wise, they were very lucky last year when it came to injuries, and now all of a sudden we're in week 2 already for their lineup is gone for offensively. So there's that, but also regression because, again, like Purdy wasn't going to look that good again. And he already started to look a little shaky this past week playing against a Vikings defense that we know was going to be blitzing. And that was another thing we got wrong. The Niners not covering on the road, and they also ultimately lost the game. So, again, there's a lot of things that are going to impact the Niners. So that Debo industry is big. And then the Tua situation is definitely high up there along with Cooper Kupp. Like, I think the Rams situation – it depends on how the Rams are going to go. They lost Jonah Jackson now for a couple of weeks. He's on the IR. They're a big left guard they got from free agency. So that's a big loss for the Rams as well. So there's a lot of things like injury-wise that just really sucked the air out of some people's teams this week. I know people are going to definitely be scrambling. But for the Tua situation, just the last portion of the segment, like, man, yeah, you got to slide. But you just can't put yourself in a situation like that. And as a QB, they'll protect you the most out of everybody else. You just can't put yourself in that situation. I know you're running for the first down, but everything, you got to not always slide, but also it's like, you are the franchise quarterback, just got the extension. You just can't be doing that. So I hope for his sake that he really takes a hard look at how much longer he can play, because one more thing like this, it's a wrap for him. It's a wrap for him. It's a wrap. Yeah. And then who knows what else you're doing to yourself long term. So there's a lot to, with that.
And we were actually we were talking about one more too, like one that didn't make our list here, but Evan Ingram. Oh yeah. Like that's another one. We were talking about that one Sunday morning.
Oh yeah, that was a late scratch. But he should be fine though, right? I didn't see anything.
It's a hamstring, and it's Evan Ingram, and that's a thing that when you say that to New York Giant fans, they cringe. So you know what I mean? So who knows, bro? And if you think that offense, man, don't get me cooking yet, man. I was trying to be calm. Don't get me going yet, man. But
okay, what I got for Roto World saying he's week to week with a hamstring injury. So just. Week 2 was a bloody Sunday, man. What I mean by bloody Sunday is injuries galore. Man, it was definitely bad. There was a lot of injury news to keep up with. If there's something that you guys want us to address, we can definitely do that as well while we're doing our show. We got a comment from Captain Joe King, huh? Huge fan of the show, Aria sub. Just sold flowers and worthy for Bowers. Wow. I know, pretty bold, but I just feel that he's a better version of Laporta of last year. Thoughts? I have Kyle Pitts. I would have sold. I'm sorry. That's too much to give. Flowers and Worthy, way too much to give for Bowers. I love Bowers. Yeah. I couldn't get him any of my season longs, unfortunately, because look, he was already going a little bit too high. And look, for so far through 2 weeks, it's worth it. I would have just took in Pitts and traded and done that. He said he has both of them now. I wouldn't have done Flowers and Worthy though. No way. No. Especially with now Hollywood Brown out for the year. I wouldn't have done that. I know Worthy's gonna have his up and down games, but I wouldn't have done that. That's a pitch.
Yeah, Worthy looks like to me, man. Like I like where that's going for sure. Like I like where that's going, and with him and just his explosiveness in that offense. And now all of a sudden, because like you're not gonna have that running game there, like the stability with Pacheco, I think like Worthy's a guy now that like I wouldn't be shocked to see him get 1 or 2 carries a game in some kind of trickery with the Chiefs. So and like obviously we've seen like week 1, like man, the guy he's a threat to take it to the house anytime he gets the ball. I'll ride with you on this one, Nick. I think that was just a little bit too much, man.
And Flowers actually had a phenomenal game this past week.
Yeah.
And it proves it's somewhat what I took away from, because I benched Flowers in one of my leagues. I
Oh yeah, I wanted to play Flowers this week. You wanted to bench him,
yeah. I wanted to bench him, unfortunately, and because I thought that just the game script wasn't going to go that way. But again, Raiders came out, punched the Ravens in the mouth enough times where they didn't have the chance to run the ball like they would have in a game script, because Vegas told us that they would potentially win by over 8 points. So it's just one of those things that just got away. But in terms of the trade itself, yeah, again, it's a bit rich. I understand what Bowers could be, but it's still based on what Flowers and Worthy could definitely be at the end of the season. These guys could easily be top 24. Like Flowers already a top 16 receiver already. Like Worthy, like he had a breakout week 1. Yes, he had a dud week 2, but it was again like Worthy by the end of season. I feel like Flowers and Worthy are definitely better overall than Bowers would be. And because again, the tight end is a 1Z position. So it's like, I understand it. Like you wanting to get Bowers now. I just would have definitely done something different for the trade. But yeah, Cap, man, we appreciate you coming on to the show and giving us a comment. If you got anything else for us, let us know for sure. Because we work for you. We work for you, buddy. We work for you.
People's champ, baby.
You know what I'm saying? We work for you. So on to next segment. We got some buy lows. We got some sell highs for you for week 3. Going into week 3. And then we got the waiver wire segment next. Johnny, tell the people who you got for. Let's start with some sell highs first. Let's start with some sell highs. Let's see if we're in the same page.
Sell highs.
Yeah. Sell highs.
Sell high. Actually, all right. I got a couple people there. They're at the running back position. That's what I'm really seeing like sell highs. Aaron Jones, I'm still in the sell high market for. I think
people want him.
I would sell him high, man. Like, I mean, listen, the Vikings. Hey, man, listen. The Vikings are 2-0. He's still upright. Like he's somebody that, like, if you can move off of him, I would. Obviously, I think there's a couple names that I'm going to throw out there as well that, like, I think make obvious sense. J.K. Dobbins is a sell high candidate.
Yep, that's obvious.
Because I think the Pittsburgh Steelers should show up this week against the Chargers in what Nick would call a rock fight, because that's absolutely what it's going to be, is a rock fight.
Yeah, rock fight, baby.
Absolutely going to be a rock fight. And then these two names here, man. Tony Pollard is one that I think is a sell high candidate.
Interesting.
And then I don't know what to do with this next one, because I'm like, he's either a sell high or a buy low, depending on how you view him. But Zach Moss, like, depending on your take on him, like, I think people are still, like, grabbing onto the Chase Brown aspect. The Bengals are 0-2, but this is Zach Moss's backfield, and you can look at it in one or two ways. You can look at it as, hey, man, like, this is a buy low candidate in terms of what this offense has put out on the field without T. Higgins at this point, or you could use it as a sell high perspective to say, again, hey, this is his backfield. How many running backs are you going to find that's in like a 70-30, share? So, like, I think that's just an interesting player. I think from a fantasy perspective, as I was looking through like buy low and sell high candidates, and then also too, like, an element that I want to call out as well for him is in the passing game. He's actually ran more passing routes so far than Chase Brown. So, like, the theory about Chase Brown being the third down running back and being the receiving back, so far it's Zach Moss. So, like, I think he's just an interesting player when you start talking about, trading and things like that going into week 3. So depending on your situation and your stance, if you need a running back or you need another player, if Pacheco went down for you, or even if you're dealing with Rashad White or anything like that right there, Zach Moss is somebody that I would strongly consider or at least be open to making a move for here in week 3.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Definitely. The Pollard one is interesting because I think he's literally with Spears not being questionable upcoming this week. Like Spears hasn't really been much in the overall like run game per se in this offense either. It's pretty much Ben Pollard. That's interesting. But if you were to do that, like, would you tell someone to use Pollard and someone else as an upgrade, or would it be more like I'm selling Pollard off because someone definitely needs a running back in my league, and I think I could get something decent for him? Which way you see?
I would shoot upgrade, and here's why. Here's why I would shoot upgrade, right? Like you have a lot, I don't want to say a lot, but you have people that are obviously in most leagues, you're gonna find one Dallas Cowboy fan. And obviously there's these franchises that have these staples and like we're bound to these players, right? And I think to your point, like Tony Pollard has looked really good. But when does there become a point when you're playing against the Tennessee Titans where you want Will Levis to throw the football, where you stack the box against this Tennessee Titan team, and now you want him to throw the football because I have Will Levis in our cookout league. Will Levis don't look good, man. Will Levis was one of – oh, my God, if this light goes off again, I'm going to lose my mind. But Will Levis was one of the sexy offseason picks for breakout players. And, again, man, it's week 2, right? But, like, for me, I just think, like, I'm open to doing that, and I'm open to moving him to get an upgrade. And if you can make that kind of a move to upgrade at the running back position, why would you not for someone who started out relatively hot?
Makes sense. Makes sense. We got a question from HD. Appreciate you coming onto the show. Please like and sub if you haven't. We appreciate all of you guys for sure. If more questions keep on flooding, we gotta answer them live, baby. Would you guys trade Devontae Smith and Ramondre Stevenson for Olave, JSN, Brian Robinson, a 4-point PBR? Whoo, boy. Yes, I would.
Yes, I was gonna say, like, I'm with you because like JSN, like that was another one that like we were pretty adamant about. I know I was about. I didn't think DK Metcalf was gonna do anything this Sunday, but I knew JSN would benefit from. I know, right?
This close for Metcalf in one of my DFS lineups. Yeah, I was like,
but JSN, I still sprinkled him in just because I'm a Max Century guy. I still sprinkle him in. Yeah, but JSN, like, we definitely, like, I knew JSN was definitely going to get some work for sure.
Yeah.
And Chris Olave, like, Derek Carr, for whatever it's worth, man, Derek Carr is, again, 2 weeks in, leading all quarterbacks in most every statistical category. And
he's the number 2 QB, yo. Yeah, he's like, the number 2 QB overall right now.
But, yeah, just like we had it mapped out, right? But like Chris Olave,
good for best ball. I got some shares in best ball. So,
but like at some point in time, right? This is back-to-back like 40-point weeks for the Saints, and like Chris Olave is like, you know what I mean? Like he's done nothing. Brian Robinson is another guy who's madly underrated in the passing game for sure. From the looks of things, it looks like he's their guy, and they're only going to use Austin Eckler sparingly. So like I'll pull up some stats here in a moment just to kind of see like what the snap count looks like for B-Rob versus Eckler, but I'm with you, man.
They've been using B-Rob like he's a workhorse running back. So here's why the trade, you should definitely do this trade. One is that because look, the depth that provides you, depending on what else you got for your roster, is already a win. Mm-hmm. I love trades like this where people are looking at, again, like Olave and Smith were getting drafted. Olave was being drafted higher than Smith, and now people want to jump ship on Olave. Yeah, this is great. Yeah. I mean, JSN we knew was going to be a decent, 8th round, 9th round receiver in some cases to make sure as long as he had the opportunities to get there, perfect. But HG said it's an 8-man league. Does that change your guys' mind? No. It doesn't change our minds, at least for me. Because again, depth-wise, like there's so much you can still do in an 8-man that it provides you with this amount of stuff. Look, Devontae Smith is going to be the guy for a couple weeks, sure. And Ramondre, I don't necessarily see this thing sustaining for the Patriots when it comes to how well they've been playing, because at some point I think it's going to go off the cliff. But I think Ramondre Stevenson, if you have him, I think you are trading. If you're trading him away, he'd be one of the sell highs for me, technically, since we're talking about it. But he says the receivers are Mon-Ra, Nico, Devontae, Waddle. My RBs are Achane, Yeah, he's been listening. Gibbs, Ramondre, Singletary, and Eckler. Yeah, like the trade makes too much sense for you because
Yeah.
Olave next week can ball the hell out, 6 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown, and we're back here saying, oh man, we should have got Olave. He was on Devontae Smith's level. And again, it may not happen again, but again, you're doing this trade to be patient because again, Olave is going to have
To
it.
do what? To what? To do what? To be what?
Be patient.
To be patient.
You gotta be patient. In this situation,
you gotta be patient, man.
Because look, you have Devontae Smith, and that's fine. You still got Waddle, you still got Nico, you still got Monra. So yeah, I think you're just doing this trade for Olave because we see the Saints offense, being in games where, like next week, like this upcoming week against the Eagles, they're going to be in a game where it should be more shootout friendly for Olave. So again, like Devontae Smith is a great talented receiver. He's going to have the alpha role for a couple weeks. But AJ Brown's going to come back eventually. So this is where, again, you can't get this trade probably offered, like later on. You hit that accept, and you take the money, and you run.
and here's my take on it too, bro. Like I said, like whether like it hasn't happened yet, and you kind of already hit on it. Like might not be next week, but Chris Olave is going to have a blow up game that is single handedly going to win you a week at some point in time, man, for sure. And Brian Robinson, he's on the field for 60% of the snaps for the Commanders at this point. Yeah. Like, yeah, you're all in, bro.
Yeah, and the best thing about Brian Robinson here, he didn't say his running backs, but the best thing about Brian Robinson is that I think literally you're playing with a QB and Jaden Daniels who is gonna open up lanes for B-Rob. And it already happened this past week where I'm just seeing plays in which when Daniels just got finished running, clearly the gaps are opening for Brian Robinson. And people were concerned about Eckler coming into the year and stuff, but I'm just wasn't one of those people because I think both of these guys can have some success. And again, with Brian Robinson, 17 carries, 123 yards last week. You know what I'm saying? Again, like they're using him. He had 3 catches in the backfield. So they're using him as a workhorse. I want him on my team because the price tag for him is not going to be as it's not going to be so high versus like somebody else who's getting consistent work. But yeah, I mean, look, Ramondre and Brian Robinson pretty much to me are in the same boat. I just think Washington has a bit more of a better offense per se than I would say the Patriots, even though they've been playing okay. But yeah, I would do this trade in a heartbeat because it gives me depth and it gives me ways in which like I can maneuver if things still don't go well. And again, you could be in the same situation next week with Olave. If you don't feel you keep him for long term, you could just take whenever he has that blow up game and then trade him for something even potentially even bigger, along with still having this depth. So again, in an 8-man league, especially where everyone's going to have depth and everything, you just want to be putting yourself in position to have a great depth. And also, if some injuries were to ravage your team, you better make sure you prepare for that as well, especially an 8-man. But he asked about would it change our minds if it was B-Robs or Dobbins? Yeah, I wouldn't. We're both in agreement on Dobbins being sold high. Sell high. Don't trade for him because look, the reason why is because the Chargers have had a great couple games, right? They haven't really played anybody in particular when it comes to like actual being competitive game per se. They beat the Reds week 1 and they're coming off this easy victory against Carolina. So they haven't really played anybody. They played Pittsburgh this week. And I just think this is a time where if you don't sell Dobbins, no one's going to want him after that Pittsburgh game. No one's going to want to touch him with a 10-foot pole. Now, if Dobbins lights it up against the Steelers, then then you really miss an opportunity to sell more higher. But I would just play this safe. I would take Dobbins. I'd try to take him to the highest bidder at the moment and then get my team right, especially with all these injuries that's happened. Again, people are looking for production. People are looking for, ways in which like to make their teams better. So that's where that goes. My sell high list is
Ridley. We got one more, man. We got Alex in the chat.
Yep. Oh, we do?
Yep.
Oops. Sorry, Alex. My bad.
No, you good, bro.
What did I say? So I was offered ETM for Stevenson. I take it. Yeah. Absolutely. Take that and run. I understand that ETN hasn't been a guy that we are really, he hasn't been, electric per se, and he hasn't been where you probably got him for draft capital right now. Like, he hasn't been playing well. He's been the RB28, then the RB20 this past week. The good news about ETN, there's better days ahead. I think this Jags team has, again, I feel like the Jaguars, even though it hasn't been the best per se, it could still have an opportunity to be better, especially for later in the year, where the schedule just gets a lot better especially for your playoffs. Like a back like ETN, like he's gonna get the check downs and everything of that too. Stevenson can, but Antonio Gibson's still there, lurking in the background. So Stevenson could sometimes feel like he's getting more game scripted out sometimes too. But with ETN, we don't have to worry about that, especially with Tank Bigsby now hurt as well. It's like, who else is gonna give him more carries with and stuff? So it's take ETN to the bank and be happy about it. Literally. I want to see, Alex, find us on freaking Twitter. HG, find us on Twitter. Make sure you guys tag us so that we can, give you a stamp of approval for getting these trades done. Because
I'm glad you're giving him that stamp of approval, because I don't know about that one, man. That's I was somebody that was buying. I was buying ATN early on. I think you know that I was buying them, but like right now, man, like we're in a situation where like Ramondre is getting. He's playing 80% of the snaps out there. Like you talked about him in the passing game. Like Ramondre can definitely do some things in the passing game, for sure. And I think like for me, when you look at this right now, like Ramondre is absolutely 1,000,000% the centerpiece of the New England Patriots offense. And I think this is kind of falling in line with like what we were talking about earlier on. For me, is like, what are we seeing? And like what we're seeing is like we're seeing the New England Patriots feature Ramondre Stevenson. We're seeing him get the ball. He looks explosive from what I've been seeing, and like just catching a few pieces of the Patriots game. And ATN, like I don't hate ATN by any stretch of the imagination. I'm actually an ATN fan. But like right now, like if you told me, I would say, man, like I might hang on to ATN, man. Like he's running 70% of routes right now. He's already been he's somebody that's been targeted 8 times already in the passing game, so he's getting about 4 or 5 targets a game. Like I'm on the 18. I'm on the Stevenson side with this right here, man. And I know obviously it could go either way, man. But like for me, like right now, I feel more comfortable with Stevenson right now. All right, we got a couple more coming in.
So George got a question. He said he just traded away Brian Robinson for Jameson Williams. Thoughts? And that's a standard league, if I remember correctly, for George.
Yeah, I think so.
Man, I don't know. That's tight. That's definitely tight. You needed a receiver. I can understand that. I still would just prefer Brian Robinson based on standard league. I'm not too sure the touchdown opportunities Jameson can get on a week-to-week basis is going to be more formidable than what Brian Robinson can get. Detroit is a great, better offense and stuff like that. So it's not a bad trade, like by no means. If I'm just kind of picking hairs at this point. I would still want Brian Robinson because I know he can have these more at the goal line and stuff like that, especially for a standard format.
That's right.
But yeah, look, if you're stacked at running back like he is, then that's fine. That's a fine move then. And yeah, he's starting more Waddle. Oof, yeah, yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I would probably want something. I'm not gonna say a better receiver, but a little bit more consistency for a standard format. But Jameson, I mean, look, like it only takes one heave down the field for him, and it's a wrap. If we think he's gonna consistently break out, Jameson is one of my sleepers to have a breakout and stuff like that. So I'm fine with it. Either way, it's just being a little bit more pickier because of your format standard where touchdowns are king. So that's
low key, but like to your point though, Nick, like low key, what my piece on this is like Amon-Ra's dinged up, and like my continuous theory all off season long, 1 ball, 5 guys, and like it's starting the dominoes are starting to fall a little bit. So like I'm with you, man. Like I think that's an okay trade for me, man, even in a standard format.
Word. Definitely makes sense. And we do. Yep. So is it T-Zinch? I'm trying to say it right. I definitely butchered it. I
That's
made
good.
a
I'm gonna let you
risky
do it
trade.
because you know I'll butcher it.
Tenzich. We'll just go with that. Sorry, bro.
Teasy,
Hope you like it.
teasy.
Hope you like it. Subscribing to the content.
Yeah, teasy. Go ahead, teasy.
He made a risky trade saying he's got Chase and Garrett Wilson and gave up JJ and JMO for
I
the
love
Lions.
it. I love it.
Oof.
I love it.
He gave up JJ and JMO? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this
To get
trade
Garrett
really,
Wilson and Chase all day long, bro.
this trade really hinges upon this is a little bit risky, I'll be honest. But the only reason why I say that is because JJ, look, if anything from another thing I learned from last week is that 98-yard touchdown bomb for Jefferson could just come nowhere and blow up your whole thing. But I mean, look, like Darnold's playing really well right now too, from a fantasy perspective. He's always is that like from a fantasy perspective. And look, I love you getting Chase and Garrett Wilson if you're gonna give up JJ because JMO is gonna be great as well in Detroit too, but JMO's more like the right now that top 18 receiver, top 15 of anything, top 15 of anything else, just outside that top 25. I mean, it's not that top 12. Chase and Garrett Wilson literally like is going to be, locked in plays every week for you. So that's where again those guys literally are, stud receiver, wide receiver one. Garrett Wilson was a guy that people are definitely panicking on a little bit. But I can understand why you would definitely acquire him for this. So I think it's a pretty fair trade for both. But I think Tzich definitely got the better side of the trade.
People panicking on Garrett Wilson, man.
And
like,
Chase. People are definitely
but like, I mean, all right, like Chase, man, like the Bengals start off slow every year. This is just what they do.
This
Garrett
is what
Wilson,
they do.
man. Yeah, Garrett Wilson, man, he's out there playing against Ladarius Sneed last week on the Titans. Like, these are things like you have to take into consideration, right? Like, I know like these guys, like your stud receivers, you're expecting them to get it done, like no matter what. But like those are two guys right there in Chase and in Wilson that like Chase, like you still gotta believe, like he's actually one of my buy low guys because people are panicking on him, and there's a lot of drama going around like with him. But who do they got the Commanders this week, bro? He about to get busy. he about to get busy.
He definitely is. We all know Washington secondary is, just putrid. I mean, look what Neighbors did to them.
Like, JV All-Americans out there, baby.
Whew, my goodness gracious. And not all Americans.
JV All-Americans. I'm going to give them their respect. They pro football players. I'll give them their respect.
Yeah,
JV,
right,
JV. As Coach Tomlin would say, we varsity, man. That's the JV team out there, man. As Coach T would say.
Definitely. So now we got the chat cleared up. There's more questions. Feel free to drop them. We'll get some for sure. Sell highs for me are Ridley, Connor, Dobbins, and for the right price, Devontae. Look, this is the time of the year where injuries are starting to impact people. People are starting to get a little nervous about certain guys, whatever. If you guys have any of these guys, and especially Adams, I said for the right price, these are the guys that I want to sell off if I have them. Ridley, the only reason why I'm selling him, I could keep it. Ridley's one of those guys I could easily keep on my roster if I'm not getting the right pieces or the right trade for. But Ridley, I mean, look, he balled out for sure against the Jets. Nice end around and then over on the nice little fade route on Sauce. He got him. But in terms of just outlook for Ridley, like I'm not saying that he won't be able to do something like this again this season. I just think the consistency may not be there because Will Levis he's definitely shaky. It's like, again, I know Hopkins and he's not going to be there, whatever, and stuff like that. I like Tennessee. I'm just not in love with them. So like from an offense perspective, I don't want too much of them in my profile on my teams. So that's why I'm getting rid of Ridley. James Conner is another guy that I know people are going to be like, Arizona did great last week and they're just did this. But of all the guys on this team, I think Conner is one of the most, one of these running backs that we'll look back upon, and like he usually always gets hurt. It's not like we're waiting for an injury; he usually always gets hurt. But in terms of that, like he's still a high candidate for me because I think people will look at Connor as still like a nicer piece to be like, all right, like he can give me some nice, 12 to 18 points, potentially next several weeks or whatever. He's a nice guy to fit in. So if people are, again, not loving their running backs or whatever, Connor's a great sell high. And then lastly, Dobbins, because again, injury history, but also the Chargers are going to be facing some tougher opponents later on in the year as well. I just don't think from week to week this is gonna last. Back to back weeks of Dobbins having 100 yards rushing. Come on, we can't expect that to continue. Can we? And Devontae Adams does look like this is a moment where I talked about this earlier before the season started. Was like if you're drafting Adams, especially if he's falling down the board, let his value creep back up. And at least for the first half of the year, like, Adams had his big blow up game and then trying to remind people that he's Devontae Adams. So I think it's a perfect time if you have Adams like me in a couple of leagues. I'm going to look to see what I can get for him, to gauge the leagues and find out like what his value is to other people. And if I like what I'm hearing, I'll deal him. So that is that. Johnny, who you got for some buy low candidates?
Already talked about one, man, Jamar Chase.
I know you
I think,
Chase.
Yeah, like people are definitely panicking on him, and like, man, been playing fantasy football now, man, for 20 years, and I've seen it a million times, man, where like these stars, these studs, we start to panic when things don't happen. And then all of a sudden we trade this player away. And the first week we trade said player away, boom, there he is, like throwing up, a 35 or 40 spot. But I have a couple of guys, man. Jamar Chase is one.
Yep.
I think Brandon Ayuk, I think he falls into that same category as we were talking about injuries. And I think it's just going to be from a volume perspective, right? He's going to be the true wide receiver that's out there for the San Francisco 49ers. So okay. I think if you have an opportunity to get Brandon Ayuk, he's somebody that people initially were sour on it during the fantasy draft process. So
what would you? So based on it's one of these hypotheticals in a way, but if you were looking to get an Ayuk, what's the thing that you may be able to give someone who has Ayuk to acquire him?
Oh man.
Just an example.
Well, so hypothetically speaking, I have a roster full, not a roster, but I have a wide receiver room full of these guys. I have Ayuk, Chris Olave, and Drake London. And I think they all kind of fall into like that same breath of like wide receivers, although I think Drake London now has kind of moved up after catching that touchdown pass like last night, right? Like, I mean, this is
a little bit,
this is the reality of it. I'm not. Let me see. Hold on, man. I got some guys up here, man, at wide receiver. Let me see, like, what I would be like if I was going wide receiver for wide receiver.
Who would you give up?
I might look at. I don't know if anybody would do this, but I think like a Devontae. I think that's a trade I'd be willing to do. For Brandon Ayuk, because I still believe in Devontae Adams, man, like 150%.
Me too.
Just from like a target perspective, I think you're looking at him. I think you're looking at. I would have. It's hard now, man, because like some of these guys, like injuries have like kind of muckied the water. I even think, man, like obviously my bias is getting ready to bleed out right here, but I think even him for like a George Pickens, man. Like I think that's like right now when you look at like what the two of them have done through the first 2 weeks, like there are some plays, and these are the things that don't get talked about enough. There's 2 or 3 plays over the last 2 weeks with George Pickens that have big plays involved in them. That if those plays still stood, we would be looking at George Pickens in a completely different light right now. So I think he's a player that like I would absolutely would consider that. That's really, man, that's where we're at right now. Like, I don't want anything to do with guys like DJ Moore right now. Like, even though like I have him on another team, I don't want anything to do with him. It's Ayuk. It's tough. Oh my God, it's tough with him because, like I said, like just from the injury side of things, man, like that's where we're at. Like Olave, like I said, that would have been a play, but and I'm just looking at wide receiver for wide receiver, right? Like if we're starting to look at.
Sure.
running backs, I think there's definitely a couple of different angles you can take, a couple of different approaches with Ayuk there.
I definitely love it. I definitely love it for sure.
But I got a couple more to call out.
Sure.
I got two more wide receiver.
Okay.
I got anybody that's in a Packer uniform that plays wide receiver right now. I think now's a great time to get them low, man. Like now's a great time to get them low. Jaden Reed,
So
Christian
all of
Watson.
them? Watts, Reed, all these guys? Wicks, even if he's not a free agency?
To buy low, dude, like if you think about it right now, like as shitty as the quarterback play has been, like Jordan Love looked really good in week 1. Really good. Like, no question.
Phenomenal.
Right? Look really good. So, like, I think like Jaden Reed or Christian Watson, if you can get one of those guys for the cheap right now, why not? And then this one might be a little bit controversial, but like I'm all about trying to get guys at a value, man. Like, dude, people are so sour on Michael Pittman right now. So sour on him. So like,
especially if you drafted him 3rd, 4th round, of course. Like,
like
I told people not to do.
Like these are players you can get. Maybe not Jaden Reed, but Christian Watson. Unless you're a Christian Watson truther. But like
you are, you're a Christian Watson truther.
I am a truther. I am, and I'm gonna ride it till the wheels fall off, bro. But Michael Pittman, bro, you could probably get Michael Pittman for a bag of donuts right now, man. And then Christian Kirk.
I love it. A bag
Christian
of donuts.
Christian Kirk, he's another one, man, right? Like you just were talking about how you were in love with Travis Etienne.
Sure am.
Hey, they just paid Trevor Lawrence, so like they're gonna throw the football, man. And Christian Kirk, the first 2 games of the year, man, like he's been up against stiff coverage as far as the secondary goes. So he's somebody that like I'm not ready to write off yet because these guys, man, like they will come through for you. They will come through. So like that's my rant on the wide receivers and guys that I'm buying low, man.
That's awesome. My buy lows consist of a few, and it's just gonna depend on what your league is definitely nervous about, because I've heard people just nervous about Tyreek Hill and Waddle right now. Their simple fact is because Skylar Thompson, look how bad he was when Tua came back in. So people are definitely nervous about Tyreek. And look, if you could get Tyreek for, again, I would give you, a really, really great package in terms of that goes. Like, if you're drafting, like, look, would you give if you have Kamara, would you give him? Would you trade him straight up for Tyreek? It's possible. If you have Metcalf and if you have like a Metcalf and like Brian Robinson, would someone take that for Tyreek? Maybe, because they need production. Yeah. It depends. Yeah. Are some of these players that you're looking to buy low on, or they are 0-2 teams? Like, are people definitely nervous about them? Like, that type of thing. What my favorite right now, though, is probably Garrett Wilson. And it's not from a Jets bias per se. It's because I think people, again, another player that we just talked about, people are paying a great price tag for, and hasn't produced like one yet. Garrett Wilson's the next guy that we're like, all right, potentially this upcoming Thursday or the next game that Garrett Wilson has. It's like, look, like it could just be the time where it's like Garrett Wilson, he's way too talented. Way too talented to not get the football enough to get touchdowns. And Rodgers and him is already starting to get that rapport. So I definitely like Garrett Wilson, especially as a buy low, because I think people are going to be a little panicked because he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. People are, kind of writing it off a little bit that Garrett Wilson shouldn't have gone that high. So the same thing, I think him and Drake London would have been the same situation and Drake London scored a touchdown. So there's that. Debo is someone that I have on my rosters, but I'm telling people to buy low on now because this is the lowest you'll probably get Debo. And again, I know I'm not telling people to go hospital chasing per se, because that's not a great idea. But Debo is only for people who are 2-0 right now, and is looking for some type of guy to wait upon, like him or a Puka or something like that, where it's like when they're back, your team is looking phenomenal, and you are in a good spot to start consistently breaking away from the rest of your league mates. These are the times where you look for that as well if you're a 2-0 team, because right now people are panicking about certain guys, whatever, and you probably have some decent value to offer them. So there's that. Brian Thomas Jr., a guy that we need to definitely put on high alert when it comes to trading for, because I think we can still get him for a relatively decent price. We may have to get up a little bit But it's like I'm seeing a lot of JMO trades right now. I think Brian Thomason's that same boat where it's like we need to definitely get our hands on him a little bit more. He's starting to prove that he's like the alpha boundary receiver, and it's like him, and it's like everybody else, especially Evan Ingram now, potentially now week to week. And at ETN, people are upset about that. But I think him and Brian Thomas and ETN, or both of these guys, are buy lows because I think Jacksonville is going to be playing better. We know the usage is now shrinking in terms of where the target's going to go. Now it's without Ingram. He's week to week right now. It's ETN. It's Brian Jr. It's Christian Kirk. Like, so probably get all those guys potentially be buy lows for me right now.
Yeah.
And then where is like someone I'm like, yeah, like he's going to provide ups and downs, of course. But he's in the Kansas City offense. No Hollywood Brown now for the rest of the year. Buy him. Don't be one of those guys later that comes to us week 11 telling us we should have traded for him week 2. And when he's gone bananas now, upcoming for your playoff matchups. So there's that. And obviously Chris Olave, we just talked about him. Definitely a buy low for me because I think I didn't want Olave at his price tag for drafts, but now he's going at a point where I think I can give people, I keep on bringing up Brian Robinson, but Brian Robinson and JMO for Olave or something like that. Like, or, again, like straight up, maybe if you have Waddle, trade him for Olave. Like, so it's just, again, there's mix and matches when it comes to that. So definitely like what I got for buy lows. There's just a lot of them. And it's because, again, like, people are either panicked, people are just not like just trying to find some production now. So if you have, this is a great time if you have good bench stashes and whatnot, whatever, or you got some guys that are outperforming your bench, you need to trade them. This would be a great time to do so because people are just out there just doing whatever. Moving on, waiver wire week 3, not week 2. We're going to our editing real quick. We got week 3 waiver wire. So top ads for position by position. We're gonna start with quarterback. So I got Derek Carr, Darnold, Cousins. Did I miss anyone? Depending on percentage of leagues, because I'm gonna pull that
up. I think those are the guys, right? I think those are the guys that are now like going to be 2 of the 3 highest ads. And I've been waiting all day. I was thinking about it. Like I was like
Good
thinking
Lord.
about like, yeah.
What the heck? People are picking up Skylar Thompson like crazy. Hold on, I gotta share screen.
But like with like the one thing like I wanted to say was like with Sam Darnold and KOC, Kevin O'Connell, aka the King of Chunk, just chucking it. Like it seems like that's gonna be a thing, man. You know what I mean? So like, and I think that's one of those situations where I've got, some guys like I am interested in the Viking offense. Like Kevin O'Connell's throwing the ball. If they're up 20 or if they're down 20, he's throwing the rock, man. But like, I think obviously Carr is somebody like you got to pick him up, man. Like I'm in a league where I have Jordan Love and I picked up Justin Fields for the first 2 weeks. Carr's still out there. I'm going to go pick him up. I'm going to go pick him up and play him because like, yeah, I said, we're at this place, man. We got no choice now. He's in a potential shootout next week or this week, I should say, with the Eagles. So there's that. And then Kirk Cousins, man, I think like I tweeted it out along with tweeting out the fact that I thought the game was over with after he just like freaking came back and won. This might be a game that we go back at and we look at Kirk Cousins and we say, okay, like week 2 on Monday Night Football is where like, he picked it up and he started rolling or whatever. But that the fourth quarter on that last drive, man, like that, I don't want to say it was vintage Kirk Cousins because we know that's not what he actually does in real life on primetime games. But like that's what he does at 1:00 games on Sunday at CBS that aren't nationally televised. But out of these 3, definitely going with Carr for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Carr is a QB2 right now, people. The QB2 through 2 weeks. And the Saints have scored 40-plus points back-to-back, technically 3 straight going back to last year. Like,
oh, come on. That's insane.
I know.
That's wild.
It has to be said, though. But again, like, just kudos to this Saints team right now. It's one of those things that a lot of people miss in terms of how Clint Kubiak can potentially have that big of a difference right now, and he's having it because of all the the motion that they're going through, and they're top team right now when it comes to motion plays, and top 3 or top 4 when it comes to play action plays. So yeah, that bodes well for Shaheed going for 60 plus yard touchdowns. That helps Kamara, you know what I'm saying, open up, running lanes. That's just what it does. That's just, to me, it's simple X and O's in my opinion. But
yeah.
I digress. But obviously Derek Carr will be a guy to pick up. Like Darnold is another guy where it's like I think he's going a little under the radar in terms of how well he can really be. And he's just been stabilizing this group. You're hoping that Jefferson's fine. I think he's just questionable. I think he had some type of little contusion or something. So I think he escaped week 2 just fine, I think. But definitely check your injury. But I think Darnold's another guy that we have to, if we're especially in a super flex league or QB,
yes.
2 QB league, whatever. Like Darnold's definitely a guy that should be rostered already. Should be on your rosters. I see Geno Smith here trending up. That's pretty decent as well. I mean, look, we're in Miami. That should be a pretty decent matchup for like a start plug and play. And probably Skylar Thompson, Andy Dalton is probably for definitely deeper leagues. I think the guys that we're talking about here, even Kirk Cousins here, should be someone that could definitely get picked up. Kirk Cousins, like he was a little cloudy for like 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters, and then he started to get things going for Atlanta and obviously drove them down for the game-winning touchdown. So we obviously know there's things that, clearly Atlanta can still do with Kirk Cousins. So now it's like, on Kirk Cousins, will he be a fantasy like contributor like he has been in years past? Remains to be seen, but at least he's someone that I would be okay with, if anything else, like break the glass QB2 if I need a backup quarterback. So
for sure.
That's that. Gonna go into oops. Stupid things.
I think another name too, like we can't forget about is Huntley. He just signed with Miami. I think like that's something like we have to make sure that like we put that out there as well, because he's somebody that like again in your super flex leagues, mobile quarterback, obviously those weapons there in Miami, something you also have to take into consideration. So I just want to make sure I call that out also.
Yeah. We got a question from Hunter. Hunter, please like, subscribe to the channel, my guy. Like, please come with more questions as well. Thanks for tuning in. AJ Brown for Rice. Ooh, that's spicy. Ooh, that's a spicy trade offer. Ooh, man.
Well, which side are you on? Are you AJ Brown trading for?
Man, I don't know. This I need context, Hunter. I need context because if are you 0-2 in your league? Do you have AJ Brown?
PPR.
Someone offering you AJ Brown. Yeah. So also what format? That's really important because if you're 0-2 and depending on how the roster year looks, whatever, or someone offered you, this or whatever. If you have AJ Brown and someone offered me Rice, yes. If I have AJ Brown and someone offered me Rice, yeah, I'll do this. I would ask for a little bit more though.
But what's really funny to me about this trade? You know what's really funny to me about the context of this trade is it's like you have alpha and alpha wide receiver.
Yeah.
You have Devontae Smith and Xavier Worthy, your stretchers, and then I'll say this is funny, but it's really not because Dallas Goedert is almost non-existent to me. But Travis Kelce, I know, right? But Travis Kelce after 2 weeks, it's kind of looking a little bit shaky as well. So it's really funny because it's like the same players, same position, same kind of concepts offensively, right? Like it's just it's a really kind of unique situation. But yeah, like I definitely want to get a little bit more context, like as far as like the league and teams, that kind of deal. So
yeah, I mean, look, like it's if I have AJ Brown and I need some production now, I'm 0-2.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
full PPR, double
flex. I'm the one with AJ Brown. What are your other receivers? That's important as well. What are the other receivers?
And what's your record?
And then are you 0-2, 1-1, 2-0? I just need to see your depth before I give you the okay. I love both of these players. It's just more about like, and if you have AJ Brown and you're getting Rice in return, it's not like you're taking such a downgrade, but you are taking a slight downgrade. But it's still the Kansas City offense, so it's not exactly. It kind of makes up for the downgrade a little bit, but in terms of draft capital, it's like Rice, you got like 5th round, like like AJ Brown 1st round.
Yeah, but we got to be off that now, man. We got to be off of draft capital now.
A little bit.
Yeah, we got to be off that now.
It still matters a little bit.
I'm not a big proponent of that, man. Once you start to get into the season, right? Like the only time that people, oh my gosh, the only time that people want to throw out like draft capital, oh my god. Oh man, the only time I want to throw out draft capital is when I'm getting my car salesman pitch on. That's really it, man. So like if I'm trying,
all
right, yeah, like that's the only time I bring up draft capital. I don't like you right now. You look like you're having too much fun laughing at my struggle bus over
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, man. Oh man. Oh gosh. But yeah, I think you and I think we're on the same page, right? Like I don't think it's the end of the world, like making this trade. It might be a slight downtick, and the only reason why I say that is just from just an on-field athletic perspective. But then when you start to get into these soft tissue injuries like this right here, like a lot of times it may start off as 2 weeks.
That's true.
A lot of these guys want to get out on the field and play. Bring back preseason football. Rashee Rice, like a little bit younger. Right, like so, I think like he's gonna be a little bit better off, better suited to potentially avoid these kind of injuries just from a youth side of things. So yeah, like I'm all right with it, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Right. Yikes. But yeah, I mean, look, like I went receiver heavy, so it's not a very important trade as I traded for MHJ and have Garrett Wilson. Someone's listening to the show.
Sounds like my kind of guy right there.
Someone's listening to the show.
Sounds like my kind of guy right there.
Listening to the show.
Yeah, sounds like my kind of guy.
Good. Kudos.
Yeah.
Man, it's still tough for me, but look, like again, I would probably ask for another player to help you out, like maybe a lower tier running back or whatever, just to make it a little bit more sweeter. But it's still AJ Brown. And I get it, the hamstring and stuff like that, but AJ Brown's a beast, stuff like that. I would just kind of up a little bit more, just get a little bit more, sprinkle on this trade. But if it ends up being just a straight up AJ Brown for Rice, I have no problem with it, especially if you have MHJ and Garrett Wilson. Like it's not like you're getting hamstrung. Sorry me. What was that laugh? What was that? It's not like you're being hamstrung, but
dad jokes 101 over here. Let's go.
I would say that I would say this is a fine trade either way. But kudos. But if you got any more questions, Hunter, definitely drop them in the chat. Going back to Tezich, he was talking about his running backs were Mixon, Connor, and Jacobs. I'm half one to trade one away to get Brandon Ayuk or two to get CD from Pacheco owner. Thoughts? Yeah, look, like I would definitely take Connor, and see what the CD Lamb owner like wants. I would take Connor. Probably not Mixon or Jacobs. We gotta find out what's going on with Mixon. But if it's a Connor for Ayuk straight up trade, yeah, I would do that. I would say Connor and somebody else to hopefully get me CD would be ultimately the goal. If I'm gonna do that. But yeah, we appreciate you, Hunter, for sure, man.
Yeah,
definitely come back, and whatever questions, tell a friend. You know what I'm saying? Come back as well on Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, because that's where we'll get you paid as well. You know what I'm saying? We'll fill up some pockets, if we lose money, you know what I'm saying? Like, as well. So it's, but we win money, we lose money, whatever. Come back Sunday at 10:30 as well for anything last minute as well.
You got a 50% chance on Sunday for sure. Don't let Nick be humble, man. He hit on Sunday, so shout out Nick, man.
I'm all right. I'm just doing it like everybody else.
That's it.
I'm just a DJ, just like everybody else.
Okay.
But anyway, going back to the rest of the waiver wire, we got running back. So we got Steele and Pirine situation. Braylon Allen, Chandler, Rico Dowell, Irving, Benson. Did I miss anybody? Was there anyone that you may have saw or anything that you might be considered being top as far as like, waivers or importancy?
I don't know if Justice Hill is still out there. It looks like he's going to be a part of like the Baltimore run game. Like no matter what, at this point, it seems like he's gonna play a role. He might already been picked up week one. That's just the only one I can think of, just kind of like right off the rip. Would be him, and yeah, I mean, I think that's right when you look at these running backs here for me anyway.
Okay, makes sense. Now, burning question for people will be: are you using the number one claim on Steele and or P Ryan, whatever, this week? If you have
I think it just depends, right? Like, I think it just depends on, like, we talk about this, like, it's very easy to be like, oh, this is the number one, like, da-da-da-da. But, like, I think it just depends on what your situation is, right? Because like I told you guys, like, I don't like to use my waiver claims. I like to wait till waivers clear and then see what's available. There's 3 different options now in Kansas City. Obviously, there's P. Ryan, Carl Edwards-Helaire should be back potentially in week 5 as well. So, like, you got a 33.3% chance of getting it right. So I'm not sure about that. One guy, man, that I picked him up last week. Actually, a couple guys. One guy I picked up was Bucky Irving. I picked him up last week in my home league, and obviously now with this potential growing injury, for Rachaad White, like, who knows, man? Like, maybe that's a good move right now. I know Kyron Williams owners right now. Like, I know Blake Corum's not on this list. Like, that's probably going to be an organized shit show probably for the rest of the year. But like, that's something else. That's something else to think about. Donta Foreman also got a lot of run last week with the Cleveland Browns. Like, that's another name like we got to take into consideration, right?
Yeah.
You got to take him into consideration, right? Like, that's another name. And then Cam Akers, waiting to hear back on the Joe Mixon thing. So, like, we were talking about this before we hopped on, man. Like, that's where sometimes, like, these things get kind of lost, is like all of a sudden it's a week to week, or it's like, oh, might be possibly, and the next thing you know, like, hey man, here's a waiver wire, an ad that happens before kickoff or on a Friday that ends up, giving you way more value down the stretch at running back. So, but some of these names, like, I like some of these names are names that I drafted originally, like Ty Chandler was a guy I liked a lot. Rico Dowdle was another guy that I liked a lot and drafted a lot of. But your boy, man, Mr. Allen, man, he looked pretty good on Sunday, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man, boy.
Yeah, he definitely was. Big on Allen. From a season-long perspective, I just knew we all knew it was Breece Hall's backfield. He's someone that I'm not spending a number one claim on by any means. If it's more of a fab situation, so if you're spending a percentage of your fab, sure. Number one waiver claim, probably not. It's only, I mean, if you have number one claim, you have Breece Hall, yeah, I would probably do so just to make sure everything's locked up there. Excuse me, but I love the kid Allen. I think again, I don't know why he went so late in the draft with this running back class. Everybody talked about Braylon Allen a couple of years ago, what I'm saying, where he lit it up in Wisconsin and it kind of fell off a little bit. But it was mind-boggling that we landed him, because I was like watching the draft and I was like, and I looked at the recap, I was like, wait, we got Brandon Allen? We got Braylon Allen?
Yeah, that's wild, bro.
We got Braylon Allen?
That is wild. There's so many places.
Like, yo, what? So I was kind of going bonkers. But as far as this running back list, like, there'll be guys that your waiver wire is going to look really thin for running backs. So it's more about just guys for the future. Like, I love having Ty Chandler. I already have him stashed in a couple of my leagues on the bench. I knew from the start of the season that Aaron Jones, like, I don't know. It feels like one of those guys that's going to drop off a little bit, where Ty Chandler should just be benched and ready to go, just in case something were to really happen. Rico, that you talked about, it's like, look, Rico Frico. I think he's going to be the guy soon in Dallas. So I think just getting him ready, getting him now, and getting a good percentage of him on your teams is really good. And yeah, Bucky Irvin, he should have been stashed last week. For people, he should have been stashed already. In terms of, like Tampa Bay and Rashad White, especially when Irving had like at least 60 yards on the ground, had a decent performance the week prior. He should have been stashed already. So there's some people we missed in general in the chat. Let us know. Or if there's someone floating around there, or if you have questions about just like your waiver claim and stuff, just let us know. We got question? Thoughts on grabbing Jennings off the waiver? Hold on, Hunter. We're getting to that.
Hang tight, brother. Hang tight.
We're getting to that. We're definitely getting to that. But yeah, receivers as goes for waivers. There's going to be a ton of them out there because usually that's what usually happens. And obviously, receiver comes at a situational base. Look, disclaimer. I'm saying it now, and call me delusional. If Deontay Johnson, I saw him getting dropped in some places. If Deontay Johnson is still out there, is on your waivers, that's a guy that's number one claim on. Put it and book it. Because look, like, I know it's been a trash situation for people that either drafted him or whatever, or, whatnot. He should not be on your waiver wire come after Wednesday if he's somehow out there. Or he's a buy low easy. One of the best buy lows I think you can have in terms of you grab him, you trade for him now, and then, okay, cool. Like, I got a guy that is going to get heavily targeted, and he should be number one receiver in Carolina. And Andy Dalton, veteran QB, you know what I'm saying? Like, he should be able to get him the ball or Adam Thielen the ball a little bit more. So again, I know Carolina's been trash. I know they're going to be, not the greatest team. From a volume perspective, get Deontay Johnson as fast as you can from a disclaimer. He's number one waiver claimer if he's somehow still out there, and or a buy low candidate for sure. But the Rams receivers, like, look, I like DeMarcus Robinson, been saying all year long, 35% of him in best ball for me. Kept on getting him late all the time. I like Tyler Johnson. You know what I'm saying? He's cool. The Jordan Whittington kid, I got a couple of shares of him in best ball, but not enough. Because we didn't know this was going to happen. Cup and Puka both gone. Like, we didn't see that coming. So it's a situation where we got to consistently keep our eyes on. I do like DeMarcus Robinson out of all of them. But you could convince me a little bit more on the Whittington kid because he'll play more of the slot. And they were definitely raving about him in camp for sure. Jalen Naylor kid, I talked a lot of shit on him this past Sunday.
Yo, man, I got him highlighted, bro.
I talked a lot of shit about him last week, and he scored a touchdown. He looked pretty okay. Jordan Addison's coming back though this week, so just be mindful of that. And just watch the Jefferson situation. I don't think it's anything more than just something minor with him. But again, Nailers could be a guy that you could still nab. I wouldn't necessarily put like a big waiver claim in on him, but he's someone, if after the waivers are finished, you can go pick up. Absolutely. Going to the Jennings situation, he's someone that you should just pick up as well. It's going to be one of those situations where Niners can produce guys, right? They can just produce them. And now with no Debo and now no CMC, it's going to be the Ayuk and Kittle show. Should be, right? So, I mean, Jennings is a nice pickup to find out what happens. Like, if Jennings doesn't get a bigger snap increase, and or like he doesn't produce, you can always drop him. It's not that big of a thing. But I would say, yeah, he's worth a claim for sure. Or definitely someone you could pick up after the waivers. The Niners get the Rams this week. So again, like, situation where it probably should still call for the Niners to still be running the football and whatnot. But I think Jennings is still a guy that we could pick up and find out what happens. Like 49% snap percentage week 1, 54% snap percentage week 2. So you're hoping that now gets to at least 70% this upcoming week with all the injuries going on. John, what are your thoughts on some of these receivers here? I left you a few on the bone.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. Jalen Naylor is somebody that, like, I had to reevaluate, man, because, like, a lot of his advanced analytics are showing, like, really good, like his separation numbers showing really good. Obviously, the snap count is showing really, really well. And then, like I said, man, KOC, the king of Chuck, like, it's happening, man. So, like, I think, it's a game script, man. Yeah, like, I don't know.
You think Barkley's here in this podcast right now, the king of Chuck?
If he is, man, we done came up in the world, baby. Overnight. uh,
Overnight.
yeah. But yeah, like he's somebody that like I am definitely more intrigued by now than I was on Sunday, because I think it's very easy to get into a situation where you look at a guy and you're like, all right, man, like one week, like he catches a garbage touchdown or whatever, like on a random broken play, all right, no big deal. But now all of a sudden you kind of look into the situation and you hit on it a little bit, like Addison coming back, Jefferson banged up, but then there's still no Hawkinson, and then we're still banking on Aaron Jones as well. So like I think like there still is enough meat on the bone for him to potentially be a flex play, because also too, don't forget, man, this is another thing I want to call out. We got bye weeks coming up soon too, man. And when you get into bye weeks, man, you start having to play players that you're not traditionally comfortable playing, and I think he kind of fits that narrative. Part two, or I have two more guys. You have QJ on there.
I left you that one.
Yeah, like I picked him up. Like I have an auction keeper league. I picked him up on Sunday. I didn't play him. I played Cortland Sutton over him, which was kind of stupid because Cortland Sutton's body is still left on JPJ Island. So go ahead. Let me talk my shit. Go ahead. And then Quentin Johnston, he's getting ready to be the next body that's getting ready to be down on JPJ Island. So like maybe not this week for him per se. But I think when you look into week 4, I think he's somebody that you could really, that could be a flex play for you at this point, right? Like everybody shit on him all off season long or whatever. Like he's a player, and like Josh Palmer, like I think he left the game on Sunday. Ladd McConkey's still there. They still need a big body receiver to get down the field and to be a red zone target. My third and final player, he's not on this list, but I want to call him out. And if he's not picked up, you should absolutely pick him up, because I told Nick, even back at the expo, one of my favorite late round picks was Jalen Polk. And like, I'm telling you, it's getting ready to happen. The furthest thing from a Patriot fan, all of his analytics as far as separate. Yeah, you can go to sleep on me. That's fine. I don't care. It's fine. All of his analytics and separation metrics are 2 times better than every other receiver on the Patriots. So Jalen Polk, if he's available in your league, get him now. Get him now, because I guarantee you in 3 weeks, while Nick is sleeping about Jalen Polk, I'll be getting ramped up in the second quarter here, weeks 5 through 9, getting ready to make a run, trying to play catch up here. But those are my 3 guys. Those are my 3 guys.
You admitted it.
Yeah, like man, look, I'll keep it $150 out here. Those are my 3 guys at wide
receiver. Especially in our Superflex league.
Oh my god, yeah. Yo, man, like, oh my god, what are you one of them 2-week champions, man? I love 2-week champions. They're my favorite.
No,
they're my favorite. No,
definitely not 2-week champions.
No, they're my favorite. They're my favorite. No, they're my favorite. They're my favorite. Yeah, like I can't wait. Like that's what we got to go back like at the end of the year and take a look at. Yeah, you did. I'm a little bit. It's week 3. Yeah. Hey, man, they are boring. I didn't say all of those wide receivers, Carlos. I said one.
That's Carlo, man. Don't
Carlo, my man. I said one.
No,
because you're talking trash, and I'm out here, and he's getting me fired up. It's only one, man. That's the only guy I want, man. I just give me Jalen Polk. You can take Pop down to the mom and pop shop. Y'all can have him, man. Y'all can keep him. But yeah, we need to keep tabs on me and you head to head this year too. I think that's worth the price of admission.
Oh man, yo, I think
for checking in, Carlo, man. Much love.
I got the lead right now.
Oh my god,
2-1 lead right now. So in our leagues, we got a few more matchups because we didn't play in the alternates league yet, did we?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think we played in the Amanda's league yet either. So yeah, there's a couple of leagues we still got to watch for. But right now, 2-1, it's fine. Got a little lucky, but in terms of like the rest of these receivers, like QJ for me I'm still not with it yet. And the only reason why is because I think we know what QJ is now. I'm not buying into the hype just yet about him. we'll just have to see. I need to see this for a week or two more because someone is going to produce out the Chargers as being their wide receiver one in a run heavy offense. But that's something that, again, like he's more of a flex play than anything else.
It ain't gonna be this week. I told you he ain't leaving the island, bro. So
I don't think so either.
He ain't leaving the island.
He better not. He better not be packing his bags or something like that.
Yeah, he ain't leaving the island. So there's that.
From a waiver wire perspective, like they got Pittsburgh, Kansas City, then a bye. So yeah, I mean, this is not. Excuse me. This is not. This is probably not. I wouldn't spend if you're gonna go get him. This is someone that's literally just gonna be a stash. I would not even try to play against the next two matchups. So it's someone that's you'd probably just be wasting your fab money on, or your waiver claim on someone that you may not even start. So it's a more of a flash up pan performance. It was a nice performance. I went back on the tape a little bit. They are using him a little bit more differently than overall Brandon Staley was.
Harbaugh said it in the summer. He said they were going to use him differently, man. So
he did say that.
We all thought it was coach speak, and nobody
and sometimes it is.
He was a free ticket, man. He was we was a free ticket, bro.
He was. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does after the bye. Because by the way, another bad matchup after the bye, Surtain. Patrick Surtain. So yeah, there's that. But then he gets Arizona, New Orleans, who is a pretty at the moment is okay matchup, but man, I don't know. And then Cleveland. So there's some tougher defenses they'll be playing. So again, that's where
Cleveland ain't a good matchup in the secondary.
It's definitely not. It's not. Yeah. So again, this is for if you're looking to be a flex play from Quentin Johnston. I mean, that's gonna be a tough stretch for me, but it's definitely tough. But Yoshifaj, he's still out there in like a lot of leagues still. I'm just kind of surprised that he's still out there in that many leagues. With all the talk about, Higgins and stuff like that, he's still out there in some leagues. I've stashed him, Yoshibas, a little bit. I didn't play him because I didn't have to, but now with all the trades and all the trades, with all the people going down and everything, it's I might as well see what I can see, come up with because he's only rostered in 15% of sleeper leagues.
He's only got a few. He's only got a few more weeks, man. He's only got a few more weeks, man. He's got another 2 or 3 weeks.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, look, people are getting hurting. Look at all the receivers that just got hurt. We're talking about an injury. People are looking for starters. So again, Monday night matchup against Jacksonville. Yeah, Jermaine Burton. Yeah, I'm saying I got him more best balls, unfortunately, but but another guy, Adonai Mitchell. I think that you and your Jalen Polk. I'm gonna put my money on Mitchell here. At some point, we're going to see Mitchell, blast off into the stratosphere. And Anthony Richardson has the arm to do so. So again, I think Mitchell is someone that probably will be dropped this week from other people's teams, and that's a big mistake that you need to capitalize on.
Well, you got Mitchell, you got Pierce, and you got.
I'm not concerned about Pierce. I understand it. I'm just not ready to, put him in a category that's he could definitely become something of a flex worthy starter every week. I'm just not there just yet. I think Mitchell could be one of those guys later on in the year that we're we should have just stood the course with instead of getting off ship with the Pierce and stuff like that.
I like Mitchell, man. I like Mitchell for sure, but I was surprised to see what Pierce has done over the last 2 weeks.
Another thing that these Colts beats reporters apparently. There was someone griping about it on X or Twitter about the Colts beat writers and how they weren't as been so transparent. And it's I didn't see Pierce exactly coming out of nowhere. He's had been in the league a couple of years. I mean, he was kind of someone that initially when he was coming out of Cincinnati, he was someone I kind of wanted to see what was happening, especially from a dynasty perspective. But yeah, it's took him a couple of years. I mean, look, he has the he is a 6'3" guy that also is still utilized like Mitchell, but I'm just, again, I don't know about that. They don't use him that way, Carlo.
No, they don't use him in that way.
They don't use him
in that way, but I think he could be that's the thing though, right? Right now, I think that's kind of the troublesome situation, with Indy is in the real world, we think the guy's Michael Pittman. In all reality, it's been Alec Pierce. and then AD Mitchell's been the guy that we've been wanting it to be to pop
Well, look,
from the flavor of the week special. So like, welcome to Indy. You know what I mean?
I know. Welcome to Indianapolis too. That's true.
Nap
That's
town.
very true. Moving on to the tight ends, got a couple. I think I need to add one more guy to this list, but it's Hunter Henry and Gesicki. Those are the guys. All right.
Yeah, those are the guys, man.
We'll go with that.
Well, actually, I'll give you one more depending on the injury in Dallas.
Sure.
Shoemaker.
Shoemaker.
Yeah, Shoemaker. I rock with him, man. Like I definitely rock with him. And it seems like in Dallas, man, it seems like every year there's a different tight end. You know, going back from Dalton Schultz to Ferguson, and like obviously like Shoemaker had a solid game if you needed to plug and play on Sunday due to the Evan Ingram injury. Hello, that's me. Just before I go on my rant, Evan Ingram, Gordon Love, Ken Walker, all down in one league. Welcome to my life. I know we're all in the same boat together, but definitely look good for sure. And like Gesicki, you were talking about Yoshivas. Like, Gesicki has actually been the guy. He's actually been the guy in that offense. I see what you did there, you sneaky devil. You see.
I'm talking about him.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Gesicki, I'll rock with that, and then that's why I said Carlo. Just give me the one wide receiver if I'm taking anybody else. Like the three guys that should be getting the football for the Pats are Dre, Hunter Henry, and Jalen Polk. That should be the only.
Now I gotta pick up Hunter Henry again.
Yeah, that should be the only three places the football goes in New England. So those are my guys. I'll let you have your guy, man.
That's fine. Nah, it's all good. I mean Hunter Henry, just someone that I was like, I had in my league a couple, and then I dropped him because I was like, New England's gonna be this, and then all of a sudden they decide they want to give him the ball. Figures. But Hunter Henry is definitely someone I would definitely pick up for sure. He's gonna have a great floor. Week by week. Gesicki, same thing. I want him to play some more snaps though, because it's still Drew Sample and stuff like that, out there. That weird shit that Cincinnati's doing right now. But I definitely like Gesicki. I think he's been decent anywhere he's really been. Miami, New England, now Cincinnati, and then the lack of weapons right now with T. Higgins out the lineup for Cincinnati. Like there should be weeks where Gesicki's going to eat just like he did this week. Now they get Washington, who they're just against the pass, they're just terrible. They're better against tight ends though, but again, like the Washington pass defense is atrocious, and it's Monday night, so yeah. But like you said, Shoemaker is definitely someone that we need to remember that he's playing the role in which Jake Ferguson was playing. So Dallas is gonna find ways to get the ball to people. And Shoemaker wasn't too bad. 6 catches, 43 yards. Like from someone that you're just trying to just plug and play. It's a tight end 10 on the week. So he was still a top 10 tight end, which again, you're just looking for some serviceable production. But again, I think Shoemaker is someone that's definitely someone that can potentially be a bit more as the season gets along. And then Jonnu Smith, because I know Miami is looking a little weird right now, but I love the way they use Jonnu Smith, because this is the type of guy that we were drafting in best ball because we thought that he was going to be utilized as well from offsetted from Hill and Waddle and stuff like that. 6 catches on 7 targets, 53 yards. So he's someone that again can be useful again this upcoming week against Buffalo. So against Seattle, and I just think he's someone that you should at least monitor. If anything else, add him later on in the week because after all the waivers are cleared. But definitely someone to potentially pick up, especially a tight end too, because all the tight ends are acting really weird right now.
Acting brand new out there.
Besides McBride, McBride and Kittle, those guys that have a super flex league. You know what I'm saying? Oh, good Lord. It's not basketball.
No, but that's a pretty dope nickname for him, right? T-Mac, Trey McBride, T-Mac.
That's not bad. That's not bad. That's not bad. He's white, but
maybe he's still my T-Mac, man. He's my tight end.
He's still on that.
It's my quarterback.
We got a couple more. We got a couple more minutes for y'all. We got some streaming defenses. So we got Buccaneers, definitely number one defense to pick up this week. You know who they get, right? You know who they get. You know who they get.
Carolina.
Nope. Denver. We've been talking crap about them all week.
Jesus.
They got them in Tampa Bay. You know, so it's Raheem Morris gonna be dialing up those blitzes, baby. He's gonna be getting at this guy all day long. Just think about
Big Todd Bowles won't be Raheem Morris.
Even better. Think of D'Amico Ryan's Houston on what they did to Chicago on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, oh my God,
think about
man.
that. Think about that. God, 6 sacks on Caleb Williams. So Buccaneers definitely top streaming defense. If you somehow can't get them, I mean, Cleveland might be out there. Depending on what depending on if people are stashing two defenses, which is just so
to me. The old two defense play.
Why would you do that? But yeah, if you're doing that, Cleveland is out there. If you're in a situation where defense is definitely gobbled up, which is possible, what I do like is either the Raiders for very desperate, or somehow the Bears are out there, because the Bears defensively did really play well second half against Stroud. And they are defense, a good unit. Man. They haven't allowed 20 points so far these past 2 games. They have had at least 3 sacks in both those games. Now they get Anthony Richardson, who is more susceptible to, running the ball more and whatnot. But the Packers, really held Richardson in check. And I think the Bears are a tad bit more talented than Green Bay on defense. So I do like the Bears if there's somehow more out there available. So yeah, I mean, look, what do you like these, Johnny? What do you like? Is there
I like those. I was just looking like at a couple of places. I think maybe if Seattle's out there, you might want to give those guys a look. The Dolphins are coming to Seattle. So like obviously we don't know what the quarterback situation is. And then Las Vegas, like you talked about, that's a good situation for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, and then like Cleveland against the Giants, like definitely no brainer. Yo, I'll tell you, man, like a defense, and I think like I just want to take a minute, just to throw it out there, man, for sure. Is like, the Buffalo Bills, man, on defense, bro. 2 things that really popped off the film on me, like when I was watching, like. And obviously it's easy to say in hindsight, but even before this, like I was like, there's a couple things that are jumping off. Like Buffalo looks fast on defense. Like they look fast and they look aggressive, and then their run game. So I think like if you have the opportunity to get the Buffalo Bills, I know they're going against Jacksonville on Monday night.
That ain't happening on the waivers, but
well, I mean, hey, we just had a segment where we talked about Deontay Johnson being on waivers, man. Like, I want to make sure, I'm being thorough out here. You know what I mean?
Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, so
viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, but definitely a couple. I like what you got going on out here with defense.
Sure. Got a question for Tanner. Appreciate you coming on, bro. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We got more goodness for you. So do I get Hubbard or Steele from the waivers? This is going to depend on what your situation is like. This is like one of those questions where, do you need a starter? Are you desperate for a starter at running back? Or can you wait a little while for things to develop? If you're immediate, is you need someone to start this week, it's Chuba Hubbard. I know Hubbard hasn't really been, this Carolina team has just been just a dumpster fire. But I do like Chuba Hubbard in terms of from a volume standpoint. Should get a little bit more of usage as well. Like of course versus Steele, which Steele could probably get a touchdown potentially this week, but I probably don't see him. It's just going to be more of a 3-headed monster potentially with Kareem Hunt, especially getting signed. So I do like Chuba Hubbard, against the Raiders this week. Chuba Hubbard finished almost as a right around the RB 24-25 range. So he was a decent flex play for you overall based on volume. He had 15 touches overall. So it's full point PPR, especially he had 4 catches. So again, like he's someone that gives you 8 to 12, 13 points. Definitely someone, if you need someone to start, right? It's Hubbard. If you need someone to pick up just to, watch this Kansas City situation, Steele is a guy. What else we got? So we got a few more.
Jamar
Yeah,
Chase.
Tanner also said I am desperate. Started Drasimir Wise RB2. No,
Bro, like yo, like
Tanner.
even if you don't like
No.
listen, like even if
No.
you don't get Steele,
No.
like there's still like you'll have to wait a couple weeks, right? Like we talked about, but with CEH, like you have
Oh
that,
man, see, even then we
that
didn't even talk about that at all. It's
yeah,
like, man, this could be a
that's week
mess. This could be a
yeah,
mess.
it's week 5. Like that. Well, no, like I said, it's a 33.3% chance. Like Andy Reid,
No,
man. Like
now
I
Kareem
think,
Hunt just got signed. We're talking about,
yeah,
oh man, hero. Man,
That's who we
it's
didn't.
getting
That's
dirty.
who we didn't
It's
talk
getting
about.
dirty. I
That,
don't.
yeah,
This is why it's getting
like
real dirty.
so Hubbard is definitely like that's your best bet to a clear path, Tanner.
Shawar,
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on the channel. Please like, subscribe, yo. We love the questions. We love the engagement. We're here for the people. We're here for each every one of you. Is Jamar Chase worth trading for in terms of he's got a good deal? But if he's going to turn it up or turn it down, do you give us the basis of what the trade offer is for Chase? Like what you're offering Chase, and we'll see if it's up for snuff or if you have to improve your trade or whatnot, whatever. And then Moneyway Mingo. Okay, all right. Appreciate you coming on.
Not Mingo, Migo.
Yeah. I said Mingo.
Mingo. You said Mingo.
Is that Mingo? Okay.
Like Jonathan Mingo.
Yeah, without the end. Yeah, no, Jonathan Mingo. Appreciate you coming on the show, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Please like and subscribe to the channel as well. If you're watching on X, feel free to chime in on YouTube. Feel free to follow us as well. Like I'm saying, like, just hold on. Still talking about waiver wire. Feel free to follow us on Twitter if you guys haven't yet. Like, we love to get you guys, for the engagement, especially. I helped some of you guys as well last week for start sits. So, like, last minute start sits. So, if you guys are around on Twitter, I'll be doing that again next week, this upcoming week as well. But question is, would you trade Garrett Wilson, Jordan Mason for Flowers and Aaron Jones? No.
That's a hard no. That's a hard no. That's a hard no.
No.
It's a hard no. Damn, you got him quiet. That don't happen.
I know, right? That don't happen at all. But no, I would definitely say no to that. Like, definitely keep Wilson, definitely keep Jordan Mason. Wait for a better trade offer to come around. Shawar says also that he said White and Diggs for Jamar. In terms of turn it up, I don't know if he's going to have average play because of his contract and all that. Yeah, look, I'm doing, like, if I'm Jamar Chase owner, like, I would probably consider this, but I'm not so high on White. And, like, Diggs is someone I loved when I was drafting for sure. Just not sure what his ceiling looks like just yet in Houston. We all know what his ceiling could be. We just don't know what his ceiling is just yet because it's going to be the rotation of Houston between Stephon Diggs, Nico, and I mentioned when Tate Dell gets out there. Again, like, so I mean, look, yeah, if you have both White and Diggs and I'm getting Jamar, absolutely smash that if he says yes to it. Turning up the deal per se, or is he talking about just average play? Look, I mean, I'm not so sure. Chase has a lot to fight for still. I know his first 2 games haven't been like what it, Jamar Chase standards, but like we talked about, the Bengals start off slow. I think him and anytime you have Burrow throwing you the ball, you have an opportunity to go, berserk. Would I be shocked to see it happen this week? No, because he plays Washington this week. So just talking about the matchup.
Here's the other thing too, man. It's like I think we all seen what happened, in the Kansas City game, like emotionally, like where he was at. Now you have a pissed off Jamar Chase who is hearing all of the shenanigans against the subpar defense that he's getting ready to see on Monday night. Like, if you don't make this move, bro, like you ain't gonna be able to make it next week, man. I can promise you that right there. Because Jamar Chase is I don't even know what his line is, but I'm going 130 and 2 tutties already at minimum.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's about to get like
he's about to get busy.
Bro, he's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, like it's about to happen, man. It's think about it, like, well, think about the narrative, right? Like, here's another narrative as well. Like, Malik Neighbors, LSU wide receiver, just had a big game against those guys. LSU wide receiver, Monday Night Football. There's points and times where you do have to play into the narrative, and this is a narrative. This is a narrative that I am playing into for sure this week.
Makes sense.
That's all I got. Yeah,
I like it. So yeah, I mean, look, we got one more thing before we go. We're gonna talk about the Thursday night real quick. The Pats versus the New York Jets. At MetLife, the line is -6.5 for the Jets. The over is 37.5. Johnny, what are your thoughts on this? And of course, I'll give my take.
I think I mess with the under on this for sure.
Interesting.
I mess with the under on this just because I think we have a division game here. I think we have two teams that are pretty familiar with each other. They're two offenses that, like, the Jets have got out of the gates a little bit quicker, obviously, on the offensive side than the Pats have. I don't foresee the Pats being able to move the needle offensively the way that they were able to this week against Seattle. I think this is an opportunity for the Jets defense to show, to get back on track and be stout and keep these guys at bay defensively. And then obviously, we talked about like some of the matchups. Hopefully CJ Mosley, hopefully he's going to be able to play. I seen he got banged up a little bit during the game on Sunday, but I think it's a pretty straightforward approach, right? Like, if you're the Jets, like, you got to stop Ramondre Stevenson in the run game. You got to make sure that none of the other, skilled players get out there. I'm not saying this is a Jalen Polk week, but you got to make sure that happens. And I think with the Jets, right, like, obviously the matchup I'm interested in, obviously, is Christian Gonzalez and Garrett Wilson. Obviously, that's the matchup you talked about. And we just got to talking about Garrett Wilson in terms of buy low, that kind of deal. But, for me, like I said, like I'm taking the under, and I don't really want to mess with the overall points as far as the 6.5. I don't want to mess with that because I think if you told me that the Jets covered, I'd say, all right, that makes sense. If you told me they didn't cover, I can see a scenario. I can see a scenario where that happens as well. Right. Like, I truly can. Yeah. So yeah, just give me the under in this game, and I'll call it good, bro.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's why I worried about initially, like with the line. The line just looks fishy. -6.5 for the Jets at home. Like that's Vegas. What's Vegas doing? They playing mind games with people because I understand, but it's also like the Patriots just really played Seattle down to the wire last week. They were at home, so I don't understand why they're being so heavily, a heavy underdog. It's tough for me because I'm a Jets guy, so I want to say take the points, but I'm just gonna take the money line. I'm gonna take the money line, and I'm gonna take the over. I think this has enough to. I think there's enough plays that could be made to get the over. Right now, I'm gonna give you guys a little preview to the prop shop, and I'm looking at some lines right now as we discussed. I like Stevenson and Hall over 64.5 rush yards. Both of them. Both of them are. I think some books are going to have maybe one or so lines.
Is this a combined? Is this a combined prop?
No, it's not a combined. It's both of them separately. Sorry, it's both of them separately.
Okay, I was like, damn. I was like, let me get on that real quick.
Because I'm like, yeah, that's crazy, right? That would be nuts.
Yeah.
But let me just fix that. So
I think like obviously, man, I think like Breece Hall, man, like 64 yards for Breece Hall, like that absolutely could be a thing. And like, if you really want to be pessimistic, like, if I'm looking at this through a Patriots fans lens, like the Jets, like they've given up yardage on the ground over the last 2 weeks. Like that's been a thing. Like that has absolutely been a thing. So I could see where you could land there. I can see where you could land there for both of those guys. Yeah.
Adding them to the official record. So, the preview for Thursday night, But, yep. Any final thoughts for everybody? Anyone, Johnny?
No, man. Just appreciate everybody, man, showing up tonight, man. Definitely had some good engagement for sure. So definitely shout out to that right there. And week 3, man, like I said, man, my biggest takeaway, man, is just like starting to believe what you're seeing out there on film, man. And like, it's no longer 2023, man. We're in the 2024 season, and Shit's done changed, man.
For sure. For sure. Don't forget our next show is on Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, where we got picks, bet props, also last minute, waivers or last minute start six questions for you guys as well. I'll be asking, taking your questions as well for start sits around like noon ish on Sunday as well on Twitter. So that does it for the show, people. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Stay safe, stay grateful, and make sure you guys are staying healthy. Peace.